You're listening to Optional Opinions, the only opinion podcast made by average dudes for average Joes. So quit listening, Carol.
Ooh, calling
Pretty sure
out the Carol.
you've done Carol before.
I was thinking that, but who keeps track?
Nah,
The podcast.
yeah,
The podcast.
all
yeah,
the clay
but-
bots.
It's fine.
Carol just says double. Can't listen. Maybe that's a whole two negatives equal a positive situation.
Right. Carol Baskin.
Well, all right, we're back after all of our sabbatical from this podcast, I guess. I'm Brandon,
I'm Kyle.
I'm Davis.
and we're gonna talk about the movie Extraction. Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good old Netflix original.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. I just don't. The name isn't that unique, so I
That's
wanted
true.
to make sure that I
Kinda like
recalled it
the movie.
correctly.
True. Although I feel like you should be able to remember the name because, like, the whole plot is like one word and it's literally just extraction.
Right.
That is the plot of the movie.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, all right. Do you want to get into just your? I mean, I guess you guys already started your opinions, but Davis, do you want to flesh that out a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, it was entertaining. It was good, but like, you should watch this movie if you want an action movie, but you've seen all of the Jason Bourne movies. You've seen, what is that movie? Sicario. Yeah, you've seen Sicario 1 and 2. You've seen.
I feel like
There's a
Sicario
second
1
one?
is not. Sicario 2 is more so of an action movie. Sicario 1.
Yeah, that's true. If you've seen
Is-
Sicario 2, if
Yeah.
you've seen even, like all the James Bonds, this is, I don't know, it felt pretty cliche to me, but I mean, it was still entertaining and there were some cool moments. Like just some cool action moments that were fun to watch, but it wasn't necessarily for me like, oh man, this movie is so cool. Like there didn't seem to be a whole lot of originality in it.
Yeah.
So I think I'd give it a 6.87. Or can we not do that? I'm gonna give it a 7.
You can do whatever you want, dude. It's
What was that,
your
I'm
podcast, too.
gonna give it a C+. I don't think I don't think I'd watch it again. Like unless somebody was like, "Oh yeah, we really should watch this," and they hadn't seen it, then I'd be like, "Okay, I guess." But it was, I wouldn't say that it was a waste of time by any means, but I don't think I'd seek it out to watch it again.
That's fair. All right.
Sweet. You want me to go, Brandon? Or you want to go?
Yeah, I mean,
All right, I'll go. Yeah, so I don't know. To me, this fits a genre of movies that I just need to watch occasionally. It's just
This is
Sometimes
actually, this is the perfect movie for Kyle. If you have this genre of movies that you need to watch, this is a perfect movie for that.
it's I don't know. Sometimes I'm just looking for a movie where I could just watch it. Just it's just entertaining. There's not really any plot that I have to care about. It's it's just a good action movie. There's a lot of cool action scenes, and that's as far as Netflix original goes, I like movies. I thought this was one of the better ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't seen a ton of Netflix original movies, but this one, I feel like was way better than what's that one with what's his face? Yeah, that was really
That's
helpful,
a lot of
right?
movies.
Yeah, it was
Talk
a
about
lot better than that
Underground.
one.
6 Underground is what I was trying to think of.
Oh, that looked so dumb. I didn't
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
it.
So that's the thing is like it was advertised as a movie. You know, this doesn't have a plot; it's just a cool action movie, right? Like that's
Yeah.
literally what it is. And I mean, it was directed by Michael Bay, and you could definitely tell that.
Yeah,
But this one, like I thought, you know, the action scenes were a lot cooler, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was looking for in the moment. Just like a movie that I could just watch and not really have to care about the plot and get to see some cool action scenes. I mean, it's very much like John Wick, like very similar. Equalizer,
Right.
you know, those kind of movies. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, just because I went in knowing the expectations or like knowing what it was going to be. Like I know I wasn't about to get a good plot. I was just going to see some sweet action scenes.
Right.
yeah.
Would you watch it again?
Yeah, I'd probably watch it again. Like if a sequel came out, I'd for sure watch that.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I was taken aback when you saying like it's one of the better Netflix movies. I was just like kind of offended for like half a second. I was like, excuse you, and then I couldn't think of any that were better.
I can think of like The Highwaymen, and people are going to say The Irishman.
That's true.
But
the Irish.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that I can.
Yeah,
recall
and we're
off the
probably
top of my head.
forgetting a lot. Highwayman's really good. I forgot that was actually a Netflix original.
I think Roma
I think Netflix
is actually technically.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think Netflix really shines with its series as opposed to the movies. I think the series are a lot better.
I think it's trying to break into the movie scene.
Yeah,
a little bit.
They've been trying to for a while though.
Yeah.
I feel like they go back and forth with trying to be like super dramatic and trying to win Oscars, and then these movies.
Right.
So I wouldn't say they go back and forth. I think it's more they just like someone pitches them idea and they're like, "Yep, let's do it."
That's true. I guess
$5 million.
that is how that
like,
works.
Go
That
make
is how it
whatever you
works.
want.
Right.
So it's not like they really like. I don't think Netflix really cares what content they're trying to produce. They're just trying to produce content. Is more what it is.
I think they do to some extent because like they look at like what their viewers are most interested in, and so like because they talk about how like most of the most popular content overall is Adam Sandler flicks, and so that's why they've done so many deals with Adam Sandler to produce whatever he wants. They probably get some vague of a pitch, but then they're just like, okay, here's your money and go do it, like you were saying. But I think they do vet it a little bit.
Like get a pitch from Adam Sandler. I think they
maybe not him, but like in general.
Marriage
I'm
Story
sure they get
was a
pitch.
Netflix original. I forgot about that one.
I actually haven't seen that yet.
Me
neither. I
don't
kind
really
of
feel like watching it. But.
Yeah, like it just seems depressing. That's what I've heard. I've heard it's really good, but it's also just really sad. And I was like, okay, well, I
heard it's like super well acted and directed, but it's just like you don't care about the people because they're just such awful people. That's kind of like what I've heard about it. So, podcast idea? No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to. That ship has sailed. But okay, I guess I haven't given my opinion.
Yeah, get your rating
in
there.
All right. So, I'll be brief because we're already like 10 minutes in. I enjoyed it, however, as a movie, as like a general movie, I don't think it rates that high. Like kind of similar to Davis, I think I gave it a 6.5 as a general movie, but as an action flick, I gave it an 8. And I think that distinction is important because like this movie is, I hate talking through movies, or when people talk through movies, but this entire movie, Cassie, we're just talking about like all the like quote unquote nuances of it and just like different things happening. And so like, I think it's one of those movies that like Kyle said, you don't have to care about. And, knowing that, I give it an 8. So, but there is a difference.
There actually were some times where when I was watching the movie, I like picked up on some stuff that might be like symbolism or whatever, but then I remembered what movie I was watching, and I was like, I mean, maybe it is, but
I mean, I'm
that
sure
doesn't
it
have
is, but
that doesn't have
yeah,
nearly the emotional
right.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
pull than any other movie, so I don't really care that much.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's about all we have to say. So good podcast, guys.
True.
I guess we could spoil it.
Spoiler warning. Not that there's much to spoiler unless if you watch the trailer
I
already.
mean, there's a fair amount to spoil.
Yeah, there's some
but
like deaths and stuff.
yeah. Anyway, spoilers. Who's
Starting now.
starting now?
Starting right now. Now.
Right. Okay, so who's going to talk now?
Let's see.
Now.
So I guess even though it was, just your common action flick, like there definitely was some, I feel like emotional, scenes within it. April's definitely upset during a couple of scenes. She's like, why would they do that? When they killed off a couple different characters. But,
It's spoiler time, so you could
So you don't have to
say
you can tell
different
us now.
characters.
the issue is I don't remember their names. So.
I do.
What did you
Yeah.
say? Tyler. April's helping me with names.
Well,
That's what IMDb is for.
he's not dead. Da, da,
Well,
da,
so I think
spoiler.
they played it perfectly, right? Like, if nobody watches it, or if people watch it but don't really want a sequel, he's dead. But if they want a sequel, he's alive. Like
Right.
it'd be so easy to pull him out of that situation,
Right.
especially with the whole couple scenes of like him underwater, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And him
they
just,
totally
like-
set it up for him to still be alive.
Yeah. That honestly was almost my downvote. It's
Is that
just
they
too
didn't
predictable. They
like
didn't
stick
kill
with
him.
their guns? Yeah. I don't know.
Like-
I thought it was cool at the end that there was like hope, but at the same time I was like, this is kind of weird. But I can get into that. You go, Brandon.
Oh, okay. I thought it would have been more interesting if, like, maybe like we see, like, because we saw the kid like going up on the diving board, right? And it's kind of like symbolizing, like, oh, he's trying to, I guess, maybe become like Tyler in some ways, like trying to train himself and maybe to conquer his fear. And I think it would have been more interesting to see like maybe like him in like 10 years as like some buff dude and he wants to get revenge on the guy, and that sets up a sequel. I think that's more interesting than having the stereotypical like, oh, is he like Man of Steel, the rocks flying on the grave, like is he alive, question mark, like he is.
And he definitely is.
Yeah, and like when he got shot in the neck on the bridge, I looked at Cassie and I was like, he's gonna fall in the water, and then he's gonna not see the body, and then they're gonna have some sort of hint at the end that he's alive. Like as soon as he got shot in the neck, I was like, that's exactly what's gonna happen. And That's what happened, and it's just too predictable. Like don't get me wrong, I know this is an action film, and I know there's not supposed to be deep levels to it, but I think this entire movie was like such cookie cutter. I wish they would have at least deviated a little bit from it to try to be a little different.
Right. I was hoping as I was watching that there was going to be some kind of like twist, and I guess there was a little bit of twist in that the guy who was what's his name, Sachin? I don't know.
Satan?
No. The guy who is like kind of Ovi's like caretaker basically.
Yeah.
With the cool long hair, Saju.
Mhm.
Yeah, Saju, I think. Like you think that he is just out to kill Ovi, and then it turns out that like they actually want to help, and like that he's just trying to look out for his family because he knows that they don't have the money to pay him, but he still needs to get his son. So
Yeah, I thought that was a cool plot point. How he
Right.
He
Yeah,
hired
so-
them, and then instead of paying, like, because he couldn't pay, and then didn't have money, like, he was just going to take them out. Like, I thought that was a very interesting plot point.
I thought that
Right,
was
and
cool.
not that he was trying to get back at his boss or whatever, but just that this was the only way forward. I thought that was interesting, but that wasn't as like, I don't know, that wasn't as twisty as I thought it was, as I was hoping that it was gonna get, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I feel like the choreography and stuff with the fight scenes, I thought that was really well done. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
like, I thought it was like John Wick style. Like,
Yeah, John Wick. It reminded me a lot of like Jason Bourne, because I think
Yeah.
the Bourne movies were basically the first ones. I think, but again, my opinion is optional. But they were basically the first ones to have action sequences that you're basically like in. It feels like you're fighting with them. The camera is like super close, and it's, when they're fighting, it's super awkward. Sometimes like they're just he grabs a mug at one point and throws it at a guy. So yeah, I thought those were really cool, but when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's like Jason Bourne. It wasn't like, oh, that's really cool. I've never seen that before. So
Mhm.
yeah. Although I think I saw some like online of footage of like some of the, like, there was one really long, like, one take fight scene that was really impressive.
yeah, the car
12-minute
chase was
car
really
chase.
cool.
Yeah, and like if you watch how they filmed that, there's like a camera dude who was like literally like dove into a car through a window and stuff, and like it was like super well done as far as cinematography goes for like a couple of the different action scenes and how they like, followed people. It was like crazy. It was like the cameramen were like stuntmen.
Right.
Yeah. I actually was kind of like slightly disappointed in that scene. But not so much as like the content of it. I thought the choreography was really good. I thought because it obviously wasn't one cut. There was a bunch of hidden cuts throughout.
Mhm.
And
I did notice that. That's actually how I realized that the scene was supposed to look like one cut, is because I started noticing those one cuts where like people would walk between them and the camera, or the camera would focus on like when he was getting into the truck, the camera started to go in, focused on the car door, and then went up to them. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess realizing, oh, there was a cut there, but this has been all one take,
Mhm.
basically.
Do you think you guys realize that more after watching 1917?
Yeah.
No, I started noticing those kinds of things during Daredevil season 2 when they did the hallway scene. There was a lot of obvious like cuts when there was or hidden
Right.
cuts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's like ever since Daredevil. That's like I've been in love with one take scenes, and like I pay pretty close attention whenever like movies start doing it. But this is one of the reasons I dislike it. Because like seeing what one take shots with hidden cuts can be like through what's it called? What you just said, 1917, versus this. I think the distinction is pretty strong. And
really? I thought they were pretty similar. I mean,
really, I don't think
1917,
so.
like, clearly went, through a rock or over a rock, or like, clearly would like hone in on the black a little bit longer. I feel like it's pretty common between the two.
Here's the thing though, like they may have been like having those swipe cuts are pretty obvious, and I don't necessarily mind those. Like it's obvious when it happens, but like there was a lot of like the camera would pan so quickly, like it was like almost distracting.
I think 1917 was a little more graceful with it.
Yes, exactly. And there was just a lot of obvious and kind of like maybe not lazy, but maybe could have been cleaned up in post-production if the post-production team was given more time with it. Where it was just kind of like, yeah, there was a lack of grace and elegance to it. But I think that was my only problem with, like I said, the choreography was really cool and it was a really fun scene. But I'm just being nitpicky.
Yeah, and I feel like the fact that we're even having this conversation being nitpicky like that shows that this movie like did a better job than it needed to do in the first place.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're 100% right on that.
Yeah, because like I was watching this and I was like, this movie had no need to be as good as it just was, as far as cinematography, like choreography, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. No, you're 100% right. But yeah, it was a good scene. And then let's see. I wanna talk about the fight scene with like the kids with Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I was laughing so hard. And the spoiler alert, that is my upvote for this movie. He was just slapping kids.
He literally slapped a kid. Like,
my gosh.
Yes,
that
was awesome.
I was dying so hard during that entire scene. I loved it so freaking
yeah, because you could just see he's like, well, what do I even do here?
right.
I guess I'll just slap him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to kill him.
Right.
Kids.
Exactly.
And oh my gosh, it's so funny. but yeah, dude, that was my favorite scene by far. Do you guys have your favorite scene, or is your favorite scene the one cut scene?
I don't know if the one cut thing was my favorite. I guess I don't know. I don't really know that I have a favorite scene, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like that. I did think that car chase. I remember watching the movie and the car chase, kind of like Kyle was saying, like, oh, this is actually really good cinema. You know, like this is really well shot and really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's, that might be my upvote. I did get really excited when David Harbour showed up.
I was not expecting that at all.
I definitely was not. And so I thought that was really cool. And then when he turned bad, I was kind of like, man, I really do feel like this movie is just kind of like a hit list of, it's like an all-star cast of moments from other movies, better action movies that they just kind of took. There's the scene where there's like foreshadowing of this good guy you think is going to be, or you think he's a good guy, then you think he's a bad guy, then you think he's a good guy. And then I think I don't think it's my downvote, but it's the thing that really annoyed me when Chris Hemsworth first wakes up and he's having like the flashbacks with his kid. I was just kind of like, of course, like how many times have I seen basically that exact same thing where he sees something, then he has a flashback to this like unfocused scene on a beach where you think there's a little kid or something.
Always a beach. It's always
right. It's always a beach.
And that whole thing, I'm pretty sure started with Gladiator, the movie Gladiator.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I got a little annoyed at that.
Literally, once I saw that, I knew there were two separate outcomes of the movie, and I was 100% spot on with one of them. And at the end of the movie, April was just like so shook about everything, and I was like, I predicted that within the first 2 minutes. Like,
right?
I knew exactly what this movie was going to be.
Right, but I thought that was super cliche, and especially like when he went in and he started. He started taking pills with whiskey or whatever he was drinking. I was like, so he's dealing with addiction too. And like, not that that's not a thing that happens, but I'm just kind of like, I feel like I've seen this before.
It's just a cookie cutter of a bunch of different classic tropes,
Right. But
this movie, like we said, it didn't bring anything new to the table.
Right. But I mean, it was as we said, it was still entertaining. None of us said that it was a waste of time. We just thought it was, you know, if you like action movies and you want to see an action movie, then definitely yes, watch this movie. You know, if you're bored at home, like many
sometimes
people are.
You just need the mindless entertainment that, like Kyle said, that comes with these kinds of movies, like Transformer movies or the Pacific Rim movies or the Fast and Furious movie. Like there is a place for them.
Right.
But yeah.
We can get into, it's actually probably going to be my downvote, but one of the things that annoyed me the most, and it probably happens in other action movies, I'm sure it happens in like John Wick and everything, but this movie, I don't know, it felt a little like kind of Fast and the Furious. The most recent, I think Hobbs and Shaw was the most recent one that I saw, and that one's just completely ridiculous. Like, these two guys are basically Superman fighting these people. Like, The Rock is running around, you know, punching people through walls and everything, and that's just absurd. And this movie never had that, but like when Chris Hemsworth like fell from the first floor of that thing, then he gets run over by the car, and then I was like, okay, so I know that he's not I know that he's not dead, but also he kind of should be. And when like, especially when the other dude who Saju, I think, when Chris Hemsworth hits him with the truck and he goes flying into the other truck and like dents it and is rolling around on the ground.
So hard when that happened.
It's the
wire work was so obvious, but it was so good.
when I saw that, I was like, okay, movie, pick a lane, because there are some moments where it is actually kind of like the fight scenes are pretty realistic. Like, he's not, I guess, relatively realistic. Like, he's not throwing people through walls and all that stuff. It is kind of hand-to-hand combat a little bit. But when that scene happened, I was like, okay, is this going to be Fast and the Furious ridiculous, where these two people are just invincible and like they could do whatever they want? Or is it going to be like an actual, is it going to be try to be a little bit realistic? And I think they played with that line. I think they went a little too far unrealistic for how realistic the rest of the movie was.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But like, kind of on that same line, like with the realism, one thing that I really appreciated about this movie was that, like, oh, the bad guy got shot once, he's dead. Didn't happen. Like, they had to shoot the bad guys several times in order for like them to die. Like, so like first couple shots was to knock them down and then they would finish them. Whereas in like a lot of movies, it's just like one bullet and then they're down and then they never see them again. I think they played on the realism side, like with that really well. And then they went onto the more absurd side with the ammunition and how the magazines would have like 30 round pistol magazines.
Right.
Without having to reload. And so I think they teetered back and forth. But like, I don't necessarily know if it's like a bad thing, because that just kind of comes with these kinds of movies. Teetering back and forth between the realms of what's possible and what's not, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, that's like, you know, every hardcore action movie, you know, there's an element of that.
And I think they did a pretty good job about that. One thing that I actually really enjoyed about this movie is that, like, they knew what kind of movie they were making, and they didn't, like, they just stepped into it, you know? Like, this movie, like, spent almost no time developing backstory, and they just instantly got into the action, basically. I think we maybe spent like maybe 5 or maybe 10 minutes developing like the different characters, and then boom, everything's going.
Right.
I was just like, thank you for not like trying to make your movie more serious than what it needs to be. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I think that was kind of nice, and I bet you that's part of the goal with like the cliche flashback to the beach is just because they're like, all right, you've seen this a whole bunch of times, you know what's happening. And then with the pills thing, it's like, yeah, you've seen this a bunch of times, you know what's happening. And then, when that lady shows up, it's kind of like, yeah, you know what's going on. I was also a little annoyed and kind of sad that basically everybody dies, and I was just like, why did that have to happen? And I know it comes along with movies like this, but I was just kind of like at the end, I was just kind of hoping for a good ending, which I know isn't, or I guess kind of a happy ending, which I know isn't realistic for these movies, especially when these movies are rated R.
This was rated R?
Yes, it was. Like people are gonna die. But I just felt like, at the very end when the other lady shows up with her whole team and basically everybody gets taken out, and then like the guys on the boat and the sniper dude, like everybody just gets taken out, and I was kind of like, man, why do we have to, like why does that have to happen? Mission Impossible, where everybody's cover gets blown. I was just kind of like, why does that have to be the thing? Why does there have to be a sad ending to this movie for certain people? So
I don't know. I feel like these movies, or at least this movie, understands very well that like the situation that they're in doesn't, like, if something like this were to happen in real life, there is not a happy ending. Like it's, I don't know. I feel like it comes with the territory of the type of movie and, the type of setting.
Yeah, and I guess part of it is just because I was hoping that it was going to be at least a little different from all the other action movies I've seen, because I knew going into it, seeing a bunch of other action movies, I was like, okay, well, there's probably going to be just a few people that get out, and there's going to be a lot of people that die besides, the bad guys that we don't care about. There's going to be a lot of people on the team that we're rooting for, and I was just hoping that they were going to kind of get around that and not do the exact same thing that all these other movies have done. But
yeah, but then we come out of the movie saying, oh my gosh, these guys are way too like powerful. They're basically super. Yeah, exactly. Like there's no happy, I don't know, because if nobody does die, then I feel like we're having that conversation.
I also think, Davis, you like movies to just be wrapped up in a bow and like have a happy ending. Am I wrong?
I think no. I think it just kind of depends. I do remember when I first had Movie Pass, and I was watching. It was just what was coming out, but I was watching a bunch of movies like Annihilation, where the ending is kind of vague and ambiguous, and I think maybe Sicario or Sicario 2 came out, but there are a bunch of movies like that where all the endings were vague or kind of sad or kind of weird. You don't know what's happening. And then I watched, maybe it was like Pacific Rim or something. It was like all those movies were rated R, and then I watched a PG-13 movie, and as I was watching, I was like, oh man, these characters were in some perilous situation. I was like, oh man, one of them's going to go down, something's going to happen. And then I was like, wait, this movie's PG-13. Yeah, we're going to get a happy ending. And then we did. And I was like, oh, cool. So I think part of it is just that I wasn't super in the mood to watch a movie like that. I think I will always be in the mood to watch like a kind of fantasy or sci-fi type movie, depending on how good the quality is. But I think with this movie, I was a little less in the mood. Actually, when at the end of it, I was like, oh man, I was feeling a little down, and so I watched the new Seinfeld special. Jerry Seinfeld is a new special on Netflix.
Ooh, I almost watched that yesterday.
It was pretty good, but yeah, I was like, man. So I think I definitely do appreciate, and I like when movies have the ambiguous ending. But I think for this one, I was just hoping that they'd do something different. So I appreciate both, I'd say.
Yeah, and like when I said like in the beginning, I had two outcomes. Like the two outcomes were A, you know, he does die, and B, like he essentially adopts the kid, you know. And I would have been happy with both, you know.
Right. Which
and
you were kind of right with both. It's like Schrodinger's movie, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so like if the last 5 minutes is him like kind of getting out of this life and like, you know, raising the kid, like that's your more happy ending, but still kind of, you know, realistic in a way.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they foreshadowed him like dying, you know, first 5 minutes when she's like, "Oh, you're just trying to catch a bullet," and you're like, "Yep." You know what kind of movie this is gonna be,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this movie.
I thought Chris Hemsworth did a great job acting. Like I feel like it was a very different role for him than we're used to, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did do a really good job, and it was really he was really fun to watch.
When you say different role, do you mean like him being more in like comedy?
Like I feel like I think we've just gotten used to seeing him as Thor, you know, and that's, I guess maybe that's just a me thing.
I mean, he was in Men in
role.
Black and
right, but even all those, it was pretty light.
Yeah.
Like it was still action, but it was still pretty light, and he could kind of drift into the more serious. But I feel like this time it was a lot more. He's serious the whole time, then he drifts into a little bit the comedy. But
I don't know.
I agree.
I think the comedy aspect of Thor is kind of like more of a newer thing, because definitely in like the first two, Thor wasn't meant to be like a Guardians of the Galaxy until like T-Walk.
Yeah, but I also feel like it wasn't the most like serious. I don't know.
I'll just have to go back and watch it. I remember, I think it was maybe Thor Ragnarok, watching it, and I was like, was Thor always this funny and lighthearted, or is this just like a new thing?
It was just a new thing. Thor was like struggling so hard, and they were just like, let's try something different. And so, because that was Thor 1 and 2 were the lowest ranking of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So they're just
people aren't huge fans of
calling it audible. I don't know. I think this is a very similar role. I'm looking up like some of his other stuff, to like other things he's done.
I just pulled up his IMDb and I see Extraction 2. So
yeah, I know. I was about to say that.
Apparently.
There you go.
Yep. Extraction 2.
So he's alive, guys.
Yep. But like he's got like 12 Strong, which he was a pretty similar role in there.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that movie. That was a decent movie.
And so there's like Black Hat or Rush. He was in Red Dawn.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, the remake.
I don't remember.
Dude, speaking of Rush, that is a phenomenal movie if you guys haven't seen it.
I actually haven't, but I kind of know the premise. But
he was in Bad Times at the El Royale too.
Yeah, I actually loved that movie.
That's a good movie.
Did we see it together? I think I saw it with Jacob on his birthday. That's why. Okay, never mind. He hated it. I loved it. Kyle, have you seen that movie?
I have seen it. Yeah.
It's good.
I would see basically anything with John Hamm in it. I think I'm gonna like. So
who's John Hamm again?
He's in that one. He was, I forget what it was, but he was in Mad Men.
Oh yes, dude.
Baby Driver.
I love John Hamm. He's such a good actor.
He's awesome. Like he's such a great dramatic actor, but also he's hilarious. He's a hilarious comedic actor.
Mm-hmm. He's really good. But yeah, well, we've kind of drifted from Extraction, but I think that's mostly because we don't really have a whole lot left to say.
Right. Should we do upvotes and downvotes?
I mean, yeah, I've kind of already said mine. Did I say my downvote?
No, I don't think so.
Well, mine was the upvote was the kid slapping fight. I thought that was hilarious. I just loved it. Downvote at the very end when the I don't know his name, but the guy that reminds me of the Duke of Hands from the Red Rising trilogy, El Pablo Escobar.
The drug lord guy.
Yeah, when he's like with the binoculars watching the bridge and like he can like he's reacting to like people getting sniped. It's like you can't see that. Stop.
Yeah.
Don't pretend.
That's true.
That really bothered me. So that was my downvote, and yeah, which I think that's like just a very minor thing. So overall, I think this movie did a fairly good job.
Kyle.
Okay. Upvote, like, I don't know. I think it's the movie sets out to be exactly what it is and does a good job of doing that. Like, you know, it's just what I wanted in that moment, a mindless action movie that I could just enjoy. And I thought it did really well. Downvote, let's see. I think it could have been a little shorter.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was actually something I meant to say. I 100% agree about that.
I do remember when I went up to go to the bathroom, or I was going to go to the bathroom, and then I was just like, I'll just see how much left the movie there is. And I think it was when like Chris Hemsworth went in the water, and then I looked at how much time was left, and I was like, there's 16 minutes left. What are they going to do for 16 minutes? And it was like the very end where it said 8 months later, and the kid was walking on the diving board thing. And then that got done, and then I realized the credits were 13 minutes long.
What?
I didn't.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm sure it's because there were like so many.
I guess that makes it a little bit better.
It's a little better, but still, I did think. I remember like 50 minutes in, stopping and going to the bathroom. And I was like, can we kind of, speed this up? Like, I feel like that first action sequence, there was a whole lot, and then they were kind of resting in that like little office place. I was kind of like, okay, I know it's going to happen. Do we really need to play this whole thing out a whole bunch? But I don't know. It was still good. Does that mean I should do my upvotes and downvotes?
Yeah.
Upvote. I don't know. I think I appreciated that the like silence. When he was shooting with the silencer, it wasn't like some movies. I think the Bond movies when they shoot guns with silencers, it like makes no noise. It makes this little clicking sound or something, which totally isn't what would happen. But so I did appreciate that there was actual like noise. And then downvote. I don't know. I would say that the movie's too predictable, but that's kind of not their fault. Like that's what the movie is. So I guess downvote would be, I think they played too much. It got the realism became unrealistic really quick, and I think it just kind of took you out of the movie where it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But there you go. Ta-da!
That was our review of The Extraction. We're about 45 minutes in. We'll ask the age-old question. What you consuming?
Okay, I guess I'll kick it off. So I've been falling behind on all my TV shows, just because life got busy.
Right.
But I started catching back up on Ozark. So I've been watching that recently when I, get 30 minutes, an hour to myself or whatever. Don't have to deal with the puppy. But it's just so phenomenal. Jason Bateman just does a crazy good job acting, and like the acting in that show and the plot is so good. I feel like you guys would like it. I feel like Brandon would really like it.
I have heard that it's really good.
It is so good.
I actually know nothing about it. So
it's essentially about like money laundering.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like it's very smart. It's just like, you know, at first, like in the beginning of the show, just how they explain things is very. What's that one movie? The Big Short. You know, like how they kind of explain things in The Big Short.
Uh-huh.
It kind of felt like that. But yeah, and then just like the plot moving forward from there, I feel like is very smart and keeps you guessing and on your toes. So, yeah, I do suggest. There's like a bunch of strip club scenes because like they own a strip club. Like that's part of what they launder money through. So you do have to deal with that. But that's really like, there's really, I mean, I think through the first 2 seasons, there's like maybe like a few sex scenes. And I think like 1 or 2 of them show nudity. So it's like, it's not very, you know, sex heavy type of a show, which I appreciate because a lot of the TV mature Netflix, HBO shows kind of get that way. And it's like, yeah, I don't really want that. So
right.
Anyway, that's what I've been watching. Also Songland. If you don't watch that, it's on Hulu. It's super good. Davis, you'd love it.
Isn't that the one where this girl, like, she has a playlist for everything and people just kind of break out into song? Or is that...
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think it's called, like,
essentially
Jesse's playlist or something. Yeah, you explain what you're saying.
So Songland is essentially, I think it's NBC, and basically what it is songwriters. They bring in a few different songwriters, and then they bring in you know, famous bands, and then essentially it's the famous band person, whatever, and 3 producers. I'm trying to remember all their names.
Esther Dean,
Ryan
Tedder, and Shane. Don't know last name.
Yeah, so Esther Dean, Shane McNally, however you say it, and then Ryan Tedder, who's One Republic. So they're like producers, and then, you know, the artist who comes on for the episode listens to the 4 songs. They pick 3 of the 4 to like continue to the next round, and then the songwriters work with one of the 3 producers to like create a song for that artist, and it's like, it's very fun and cool to watch and see like that whole process. And also like Ryan Tedder's just a genius. So
Okay.
That sounds cool.
check it out. It's really good.
Cool.
And some of the songs that come out of it are like really good. Like I listen to them fairly often.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what I've been watching.
Davis, you want to go?
Yeah. So I have, as you both know, I read a lot of books, but recently I have not been able to do that nearly as much because I'm not on a train for 2 hours every day. So before this all happened, I got a book called Wool by Hugh Howey, and it's actually really cool. It's kind of post-apocalyptic, people living in a silo, and like life in this silo, and they have like the top floor, there's screens all around so you can see this, basically the wasteland that's around. And if you ever have any thoughts or feelings of wanting to go outside, it's basically a death sentence where they like put you in this hazmat suit, and they call it go to cleaning, because your job is to go outside, go to the sensors, like clean them off, because their suits aren't good enough to like go outside, clean, and then come back. So that's basically like their walk the plank, basically, is you go outside, clean, and then wander off and die, basically. But it's a really interesting book. It's kind of going slow through it. I'm like 3/4 of the way through, but it's really good. And I've been watching On YouTube, I've actually been watching a lot of Bon Appetit, their YouTube stuff. They're like a cooking channel. They are super awesome and really entertaining, and I wish that I worked there because they all seem like awesome people. And also I've been watching a lot of like Disney classic movies because my fiance and I, that's right, I have a fiance now instead of a girlfriend. That happened, I guess, last week. Yeah. But we...
Congratulations.
All of the Optional Opinions hosts are officially off the market.
Yeah, so sorry about you, but there are plenty of other fish in the sea. But anyway.
This man complaining about cliches.
We always wanted, like, there's so many shows because she's bored at home and I'm bored at home trying to watch a show. And there's so many shows that we want to watch, but we want to watch them together. So like we want to watch Psych and we want to start watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and we want to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But
it's so much easier when you're married.
But well, yeah, that's the thing is that we don't want to start a show that we can't binge together. You know, like that's not going to be easy for us to be like, oh, let's watch a few episodes of that. So we haven't started anything, and in lieu of that, we've just watched a bunch of classic movies on Disney Plus. Like I think a couple days ago, we watched Hercules. We watched Brother Bear. We watched.
Dude, Brother Bear is so underrated.
Oh, yeah. Brother Bear is great. I forget what else we watched. We've been watching Disney Fantasy Weddings, which is pretty entertaining. And also,
don't get any ideas.
Dude, I'm sure those people are spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on their weddings. So
they're taking out loans.
Oh, yeah. One of the girls got married in front of... Well, actually, two people got married in front of the castle. One of them was like on Main Street, and their actual ceremony, I think, was either at midnight or 1 a.m. And then this other lady got married like directly in front of the castle, and her ceremony was sunrise started at 6 a.m., I think.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know. That'd be cool, but also I heard it's like $80,000 or $90,000 just for the venue. If you want to get married in front of the castle. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
No.
Dude, for what it is, that's actually cheaper than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So.
Like, still a crazy amount of money that I would never dish out. But for what you're getting, I feel like I expected more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly think even if I had all the money in the world, I don't know if I'd get married there. Like... Kenzie actually made a good point. She's like, so you're telling me that we would have the park all to ourselves and we couldn't go on any of the rides, just have to get married and then go to a reception? So
that's a good point.
Yeah, you can't, nothing's
probably
open.
Like another 20,000 to pay people to be there to let you ride the rides.
Yeah, that's true. They'd have to staff it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brandon, what you consuming?
So, Cassie and I have consumed quite a bit since our last episode. I believe when the last episode aired, we were consuming Barry. So that's done. That was great.
Yeah, it is.
Excited for season 3.
I thought there was no season 3.
I think there's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Maybe I'm wrong. But we started and finished Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Love that show.
I freaking love it so much.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, we could do a whole episode on that.
I'd be down.
Great. And now Cassie and I have started The Walking Dead.
Oh.
I thought you already watched that.
So I watched it up to season 6. And then I kind of fell off, not because I got bored, but just because like I was watching other stuff and I'd caught up to the current season, and I hate watching once a week and it wasn't on Netflix, and I just hadn't gone back. And so Cassie is watching it, and once she gets caught up to where I left off, then we'll start watching it consistently together. I watch it with her, but like kind of like every other episode. But that's been fun. I like going back and like knowing everything that's gonna happen and like seeing some of the foreshadowing that the show was doing. It's been pretty cool. So, and then along with the Disney route that Davis was going, well, it's DreamWorks, I think. So yeah, we watched the Prince of Egypt the other day.
Yes.
I hadn't seen that since I was probably like maybe 7. And I don't remember, like I didn't remember it like hardly. Like I remember specific scenes happening, but like it was really good. I really enjoyed that movie. I was really impressed with the animation too, especially for the time that it came out.
And the songs.
And yeah,
everything about that movie. I watched it so many times. Like I've seen it so many times in my life.
It was not something that like I grew up with. Like I maybe saw it, like I said, once, but yeah, it was really good. I'm surprised it wasn't something that I grew up with, to be honest. Surprised my parents didn't like shove that down my throat.
It is kind of funny. Like, did you know that Steve Martin and Martin Short are in that? Like,
yeah,
it's weird going back. Yeah, it's weird going back and looking at stuff. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is the bear. He's the main character in Brother Bear. And I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea until I went back and watched. I was like, that totally is him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's about it. Let's end this episode by saying your name and then which movie actor would you like to come and rescue you in a situation that you were in need of rescuing?
Okay.
I didn't think about how I was going to say that until
like movie actor, like
like
in Extraction.
Like Jason Bourne. Yeah. So if like you needed rescuing and you had to have some fictional character rescue you.
Example,
like
okay.
Tyler or like Jason Bourne or John Wick.
Right.
Who would you want?
So not the actual
Not
actor.
the actual.
Okay.
The fictional.
Okay.
The fictional character. So.
Understood.
Got it.
Got it.
Do you want to go, David?
I mean, I feel like this is pretty obvious, but Davis and I'd choose Star-Lord because Chris Pratt's awesome, and also Star-Lord would be fun. Yep.
Yeah, he seems reliable.
It works out in the end.
My name is Brandon, and I would definitely choose John Wick. He just seems like the kind of guy that.
Yeah, I feel like that's the obvious
to get
answer.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to go for something funny, but like it's if I'm needing rescuing, that's not a funny business. I need rescued. John Wick. John Wick's the guy.
Can I pick from an animated movie?
Yeah,
Sure.
Ooh, okay. My range has just been broadened.
You gotta pick Toothless.
I need dude. I was thinking about picking Hiccup. Honestly.
Just because then you could meet Toothless.
Literally, and I could fly on a dragon. All right, that's what
Kyle
it is.
has ulterior motives.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. You got to think not only short term, but long term, right?
I mean, when your kind of life is on the line and you're needing rescued, there's not a whole lot of long term thinking that happens, I don't think.
Dude, I would think through it. Because the Night Fury is obviously going to save me. And then long term, I just made a friend with the Night Fury. So my name's Kyle, and I choose Hiccup.
There you go.
All right. Well, good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.